I refuse to go?
You don't know answer right there.
I'm just saying, just all of a sudden I started getting this countdown from the middle of the room. There are still people in the back getting snacks. So I'm doing what we call the stretch, so everyone has time to get to their seats and enjoy all of the speeches. Except for Don, I'm not going to stretch that much longer, so according to the script, please be seated for the next contest. We will now conduct the International Speech Contest. If you used your cell phone during the break, please ensure that it is on silent or alarm, or better yet, turn it off. See, this is exactly the way the script says it. I think my way was much nicer. We know that you had to go out and communicate to the mothership, so shut down the communication. Once the contest has begun, the Sergeant-at-Arms will secure the door. Members of the audience are asked to refrain from leaving or entering the room during the contest. After the contest, please do not leave the room until it is determined that all ballots have been collected. Please check to see if any devices such as cell phones or pagers need to be turned off or silenced since the intermission. That seems a little redundant, but it was on the speech, so I read it anyway. Here is the speaking order for the International Speech Contest. Contestant number 1, Ben Sanders. Ben Sanders. Contestant number 2, Miriam Barreto. Miriam Barreto. Contestant number 3, Bob Sims. Bob Sims. Contestant number 4, Bernard Pearlstein. Bernard Pearlstein. Contestant number 5, Sheena Lilly. And there is a program note that the correct spelling of Lilly for the judges is L-I-L-L-Y. Sheena Lilly, contestant number 5. Contestant number 6, Heather Vaughn. Heather Vaughn is contestant number 6. Are there any questions about the speaking order for the contestants? Seeing none, hearing none, I will continue. There will be 1 minute of silence between each contestant. Timekeepers, when I advise you to do so, please signal me with the green light when 1 minute is up, and I promise I'll pay attention every time this time. After the contestants have spoken, the judges will all be given the time they need to complete their ballots. We will now begin the International Speech Contest. Contestant number 1, Ben Sanders. What is your battle? What is your battle? Ben Sanders.
Everyone you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about. Be kind, always. A friend of mine shared that quote with me, and when she did, it reminded me that we're all fighting battles. And our battles create stories that define who we are today. Fellow Toastmasters, distinguished guests, dignitaries, Madam Toastmaster, friends. Today, I'm going to share one of my stories. We picked this story up a little over a decade ago. Did you ever have one of those nights you tossed and turned, couldn't get up in the morning, and when you did, you just kind of sat there and stared off into space? I did. And one day turned to 2, into 3, into 2 weeks, to 4 weeks. Got to a point where I wasn't eating, I didn't want to go anywhere, I didn't want to do anything. Anxiety creeped in, fear, paranoia. It's like I had stepped into a big pit of quicksand, and I was slowly sinking in. My wife, recognizing that I wasn't my same old self, because she wasn't sure what to do, she threw me a rope. She set up an appointment with our pastor of our church. And upon meeting with him, his immediate recommendation was to go see a doctor. And I didn't, is diagnose it. You guessed it, depression. At that point, I was feeling pretty desperate. And I would do just about anything. So I asked for help, and he gave it to me in the form of a professional, a therapist. Now, I went to see that therapist, and when I did, he shared with me that I wasn't alone, that there were others out there that felt the same way I did. He used an analogy. He said, depression's kind of like a slide. And I don't know if you've ever slid down a slide before, but you can really pick up speed. Most people, when they're at the top of that slide, they start to slide, they grab themselves, and they can pull themselves back up. They're okay. But when you have depression, you start sliding, you let go, you can pick up speed. And when you hit the bottom, there are times you alienate yourself from your friends and your family, and in extreme cases, you try to take your own life. Suicide. For me, it's like I had slid about halfway down, put my feet down, said, I'm not going all the way to the bottom. I turned myself around, and I started to climb back up. I don't know if you've ever tried to climb up a slide before. It is not easy. I needed a nudge, and I've had a lot of heroes in my life, but the two biggest in this story, my wife and my pastor, they helped me find a third. She was a Christian counselor, but more than that, she became sort of a life coach for me. After meeting with her for a while, she asked me the question, Ben, what is your battle? I said, depression, anxiety, insecurity, fear, at home, but more at work than at home. Then she asked me, had you ever considered going back to school to get your MBA, your master's in business, which I quickly replied that as an undergrad I had studied theater and mass communications. There was no way I was going to be able to qualify for a business degree. She said, listen to yourself. I ask you again, Ben, what is your battle? A light bulb went off in my head. Self-confidence. I needed to have confidence in myself. It's like, exactly. Now go sign up for that class. I did. And you know what it was? The very first class? It was a communications class. It was a class delivering speeches on myself, my interests, my hobbies, with a few business speeches in there too. Well, by the end of that class, I was a very popular student. Other students who had studied finance and business, they were recruiting me to assist them with creating presentations that were interesting, engaging, fun, and innovative. In 2008, I graduated with my MBA. 6 months after that, I got a promotion at work. And 6 months after that, my wife and I had a beautiful daughter, Jocelyn. There was she. I made it a point to start putting aside my insecurity and my anxiety and to start seeking out opportunities for confidence in innovation, creativity, and employee engagement at work. That's why 2 years ago, after heavy recruitment by Pam Mulcahy back there, I joined Toastmasters. I did it for two reasons. I did it to work on my own personal development, but I also did it so that I could mentor others and help them overcome their insecurity and anxiety about getting up in front of a group of people. Now don't get me wrong. I still feel insecurity, fear, anxiety, stress, all those things at times. But you know what? I know now that I have a safety net of my friends, my family, and my faith standing right with me to keep me strong and confident. Statistics show that of those people in the world who have been diagnosed with depression and are being treated, a majority of them are on their way to recovery. And many others, they're feeling some relief from their symptoms. The problem is that of all the people in the world that suffer from depression, a very small percentage have been diagnosed. The reason why? It's the embarrassment that you have to reach out for help, or the embarrassment that others might think of you as mentally weak. I'm here to tell you that reaching out for help, no matter what that help is, it is never a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength and of confidence. I'd like to share something with you. It's called Autobiography in 5 Chapters. It's just a portion of it, but it was written by Portia Nelson. It was quoted in the Tibetan book of both living and dying. I walk down the street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I fall in. I feel lost. I feel hopeless. It's not my fault. It takes a long time to climb out. I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I pretend not to see it, but I still fall in. I can't believe I'm back in the same place, but It's not my fault. It still takes a long time to climb out. I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I walk around it. I walk down a different street. Friends, if someone you care about is showing the signs of depression, I encourage you to encourage them to get the help they need with their battle. You never know. In a few years, you or they might be in this very spot, sharing their story. Thank you.
While the judges mark their ballots. Contestant number 2, Miriam Barreto. Love letter. Love letter, Miriam Barreto.
I write love letters to strangers. I started doing this about a year ago. But I want you to walk with me through a little bit of my history so that you can see what led me there. It started for me when I was in the 2nd grade. We were lined up outside our classroom, the boys on the left and the girls on our right, getting ready for recess, when my teacher, a tall, lanky woman with white hair and wire-frame glasses, called me out of line. I walked slowly. My heart was pounding because I'd been talking, when she reached into her desk drawer and handed me a package wrapped in tissue. I opened it. A beautiful pair of black and red plaid mittens. Madam Toastmaster, honored guests. A pair of mittens for me was exciting. I grew up in a large family, and we didn't have much. With 7 brothers and 7 sisters, much of my clothes were handed down. Around Christmas time, we'd gather around the table because the church would deliver a box of food. We couldn't wait to see what treats we'd get. One year, we got a can of Nestle's Quick. What a treat! My mom was not too happy. We went through 12 gallons of milk. During that time, I didn't give it much thought of where we came to receive these gifts. I didn't think about who was bringing this to our family. It wasn't until I became a parent that I began to return the favor. Because quite frankly, my children were spoiled. They had everything that I didn't have. A room of their own, a computer, countless toys. They participated in sports, and I was starting to think that they didn't appreciate it. I signed them up for the Giving Tree program at our church. It involved selecting a family and buying gifts for them that were on their Christmas wish list. The families had a choice of meeting the donors, and this particular year, they checked that box. The family was a single mom with a young boy. Her wish was for a quad game and a computer game for her son. We agreed to meet on a Sunday afternoon, but that afternoon, my children were not interested. My son sat with his Nintendo DS. Do we have to do this, Mom? My daughter was on the computer chatting as she yelled, why don't we go and deliver them to church like we always do? We're gonna do this. It's important. You don't know how lucky you have it. You have all of these things, and there are people that don't have much. I grew up with so little. Wah, 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 wah. And I imagined them saying, I insisted, and along we went. Ding dong. Mom, did you call? I did. Ding dong. David, quit ringing the bell. The door opened, and there before me was a young boy. My mom is expecting you, he said. On the far end of the room stood a woman, barely able to stand, hanging on to the wall as she saw us. You bought me a cane! You bought me a cane! Thank you! My daughter raced to her. I wrapped it myself. It's beautiful. I love the purple wrapping. That afternoon, I began returning a favor. I was teaching my children a lesson, and I was transformed. Today, I write love letters to strangers. They look something like this, and it goes something like this. Dear Tom, thank you for showing up. Every time you show up, it matters. To your family, to your friends, to your co-workers. I applaud your bravery during your illness. I hug you and send lots of love. MoreLoveLetters.com. MoreLoveLetters.com was an organization that was founded by a young college student in New York who was going through depression. She remembered the letters that her mom wrote to her when she started school. It evolved into an organization that puts volunteer letter writers with folks in need who might be going through an illness, cancer, or just need an emotional boost. I write love letters because I want to return the favor to all of those heroes that helped me and my family during our upbringing. I write love letters because I want to be a role model to my children. And as I look at you, successful men and women, I ask you, if you have something to give, do it now. Don't wait to return a favor like I did. Volunteer at a food pantry. Mentor a child. Write a love letter. You may find that the love and compassion that you feel in giving is just as exciting as an unexpected gift, like a pair of mittens.
May we have 1 minute of silence while the judges mark their ballots? Contestant number 3, Bob Sims. What you choose to see is what you get. What you choose to see is what you get. Bob Sims.
My hands were frozen to the controls of the airplane. I'm flying 3 feet above the ground. I'm out of runway and I'm headed for a line of trees. I'm gonna die. I'm out of options. Or am I? Have you ever made a decision based on incorrect information and later regretted it? Well, that's exactly what happened to me that day. I learned what you choose to see is what you get. And Toastmasters, an honored guest. It was 18 degrees outside. The sun was bright, warmed the runway, causing puddles to form where there once was ice. I walked out to the tarmac and inspected the aircraft. It was a single-engine Piper, and I was going across country to Janesville, Wisconsin as part of my commercial license. Well, I got into the plane and made myself comfortable. Key in, mags to both, choke out. And when I turned the key, that propeller started to spin. The engine choked, sputtered, and then it caught. Sounded good. I put in the choke and I went out to the runway, checked for traffic and seen none. I got onto the runway and immediately put in full power. That engine came to life. It roared. That plane started to move slowly at first and then gained more and more momentum. And I looked over at the gauge that told me how fast that plane was going. 40, 50 miles an hour. Then I looked down at the gauge that told me how fast the engine was going. It was going 3,600 RPM, full power. Then all of a sudden I hit these puddles and the water splattered all over the plane and all over the windshield, and I had to gain my composure. And I looked over at the airspeed indicator, 75 miles an hour and climbing. With that, it's time to fly. So I pulled the engine off the runway and immediately felt a reduction in power. I looked over at the airspeed indicator. It was going down. 75, 72, 70 miles an hour. Now, I got to tell you, below 63 miles an hour, this plane is not a plane. It's a rock. So I looked back at the airspeed indicator and I noticed then that I was out of runway. I hit the point of no return. No runway, no landing. Then I looked up and saw the trees coming faster at me. They weren't more than 10 to 15 seconds away. This is it. I'm going to crash into those trees. I grabbed a hold of my yoke and I waited for the inevitable to happen. My mind started to go on 2 levels. I'm terrified. The airspeed indicator says we're going too slow. This is it. We seem to be going fast enough. There's no way out. We better make a decision now. I'm going to die. Head for the top of the trees. And with this, I took a leap of faith. I pulled back and I pointed that nose towards the top of the trees. Come on, come on, come on, you sucker! And as I got over the top of the trees, I felt the landing gears rub against some branches. I leveled off. I made it. I truly made it. And then I looked over the airspeed indicator, 58 miles an hour. Now, something's wrong. Because at 58 miles an hour, I'm down on the ground, crashed. I grabbed the microphone and I said, Mayday, Mayday, this is Piper Aircraft 7085 Foxtrot. Help, I'm declaring an emergency. I looked down over at the airport office and had everybody come running out and look up at me. And look up at me. This was no help. They just came out to watch me die. I didn't have much more to do than to keep that plane in the air and to get to the end of the runway. And finally, after eternity, I was on final approach. I came down, landed that plane, and I traveled over to the tarmac and turned off the engine. I was exhausted. And I saw my flight instructor, Jim, come running over to me, and Jim had something to show me. So we walked over to the front of the plane, and that whole front of the plane was covered with ice. It was in the intake of the engine, it was in the input of the airspeed indicator. It was the puddles. It explained everything. Jim says, "What was your RPM, Bob?" I said, 3,200 RPM. He said, "Why, Bob, at 3,200 RPM, you can fly all day long, slower but safely." I said, "Wait a minute. I knew that. Then why did I believe that airspeed indicator, that faulty airspeed indicator?" Well, I thought about that. And what I found out was that I had believed on a negative point of view that I was going to die. And that airspeed indicator faulty reinforced that thought. How many times have you made a decision based on a negative point of view just to get a negative result that just reinforced your negative point of view? It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Life provides for us both the positive and the negative side to see. It's our choice. The lesson here is to keep your eye on the positive. Your life's going to be better. You're going to live longer. There was a famous comedian, Flip Wilson. He said, "What you see is what you get." Well, Flip was almost right. It's what you choose to see is what you get.
Contestant number 4, Bernard Pearlstein. I have a dream. I have a dream, Bernard Pearlstein.
I have had the fortune to travel this country from Miami to LA. I have traveled from Seattle to Maine. And in my travels, I want to tell you, I want to share with you what I have seen. I have seen a land of abundance. I have seen a land of unlimited opportunity. I have seen people who love their neighbor. I have seen a great mass of people who've overcome great prejudices from the past. Madam Toastmaster, honored dignitaries, fellow Toastmasters, and most welcome guests. Now, when you hear our leaders talk today, do you hear them talk to that? Do you hear them talking about that? No, they actually talk about our people as if we're a bunch of little puppies fighting over scraps of food. So I want to talk to you today about my dream, because I have a dream. And I have a dream that's inherited from leaders from our past. The reason is, I understand we have our problems. I'm not denying them. I'm not in denial. But we can overcome them, as we have in the past. So my dream is inherited from some great leaders that we've had in our past in times that were much more challenging than today. Think about the time of the Revolutionary War. A small startup country, much smaller than Great Britain, with a navy that was almost non-existent, defeated the greatest sea power of its time. And we developed, as part of our revolution, a great document, the Declaration of Independence, that still talks to us today. And what does that document talk to? It talks to freedom, very much to equality, and also to our unity as a people. And we overcame, we won that revolution. Then there was the Civil War, almost a second revolution. And we broke the bonds of slavery. We came up with a great document, the Emancipation Proclamation, 13th Amendment. Again, we were talking to people like Lincoln, were talking to freedom, equality, and our unity as a people, one country. During the deprivations of the Great Depression, we overcame that. And then, right after, back to back, we fought a world war. We became the greatest power, military power in the world in defeating Germany, fighting for freedom for ourselves and for others. That was Franklin Roosevelt, and he spoke about the 4 freedoms. And finally, I am honored because I believe in the I have a dream mantra. We overcame one of the great tribulations of our country, segregation. Segregation, not just in fact, but legal segregation, legalized, forced by law in some portions of our country. And the man who led us in that time, Martin Luther King, he gave a speech called I Have a Dream. And that is what inspires me today. Now, what was Martin Luther King speaking about in I Have a Dream? What did he speak to? He spoke to our shared values, the desire for freedom. Let freedom ring. He spoke to liberty. My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, he mentions in his speech. But he spoke also to our unity. He said, he basically was saying, it is not the role of just black people to fight for this. It's white people and black people, sons of slaves and sons of slaveholders, together need to fight this scourge. And overcome we did. So I have a dream that's inherited from those great leaders from our past. A dream to speak to freedom, equality, our unity. I want leaders who will speak to these things. I want leaders today who will do that and will unite us to overcome our problems. Now, here's the most important part of this. It's not just up to the leaders. We have to make sure we get the leaders we deserve. How do we get those leaders? We get those leaders by all of us, myself and you and you and you and you and you, raising your voice. We need all of us to raise our voice in favor of leaders who unite us, not divide us. We need to raise our voice loud. We want to raise our voice as loud as that bell in Philadelphia, which was ringing at the start of our nation, the Liberty Bell in Philadelphia. And when we do raise our voice, we will be able to ring that Liberty Bell and say, let freedom ring. And when we do that, we will get the leaders that we need. And when we get the leaders that we need, we not only can overcome, but we shall overcome.
The ingredients to a confident and fearless life, Heather Vaughn. Everyone has what it takes to be more confident and to live fearlessly. Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and distinguished guests. I haven't always been very confident, and some would look at my parents and assume why. They grew up in Mississippi, worked as sharecroppers, moved to Ohio, worked in the local factories. Truth is, they didn't have time to fully develop their self-confidence. And that's why they encouraged me to take a different path. So I went to college, got a degree, moved away from Ohio. But there was still a lot missing. 4 years ago, I took the detour and I started soul searching and personal development. I read the books, I watched the lectures. However, the information didn't click until 1 year ago, when I realized what I was missing, confidence. And I came to understand what the roots of confidence are. They are physical, mental, and spiritual. Confidence is physical in how you carry yourself and how you move. When I relocated to Chicago, I was like a fish out of water. You Chicagoans walk so quickly. And in all that hustle and bustle of downtown, there was me, moving leisurely about my day. I'll get there when I get there. Little did I know that that same lack of purpose would permeate through every single part of my life. My career and personal life lacked vision and fewer goals. Looking for inspiration, I read the autobiography of the first black billionaire, Reginald F. Lewis. He said whenever he was uncertain about where he was going on his way to the top, he would walk as if he knew where he was going. As I began to move in power, how everyone saw me change, but more importantly, how I saw myself changed. Confidence is mental. You all know someone who is a little bit more confident than you think that they should be. But who am I to tell that person that they should not believe in themselves? If anything, I should see their fearlessness as permission for me to live my truth. But how do you believe in yourself before you believe? Fake it until you make it. Yes, I know that's cliche. However, the ideas of confidence, they have to find a home here in your brain before it can even begin to reach the heart and resonate with the entire world. So as my mind and my body began to work in unison, the universe opened up for me. The last element of confidence is the most important. It's what the flesh, bone, and trappings of this world would rather you and I forget. That is because confidence is spiritual. Confidence is spiritual, not what you believe when it comes to a religion. It's that understanding that everything you need to overcome whatever you have to is the essence of who you are. And it's been there since your very first breath. No better example of that for me is when I look at my 7-month-old self. I'm in the hospital, a 106-degree temperature, pneumonia. Yes, the doctors did an excellent job.
But there's another side of science that is there to remind us of who and what we really are. And there it says that energy cannot be created nor destroyed. However, it can be transformed. So that same desire to live that existed within me then is within me right now. And it's demanding that I stoke that spirit, that energy, until the aura of my self-assurance and resiliency of all I've overcome shines undeniably. Even if you believe that the Savior has come, will come, or that concept never existed, remember this. Time and mind, they are the exact same thing. They both can be wasted, and they wait for no one. So know that within this mind and in this time, you are the one you have been waiting. Now I ask you, what's holding you back from being more confident? Confidence. It's physical, it's mental, it's spiritual. Those are the ingredients to lead a fearless life. One where you can hold on fearlessly and let go fearlessly. You'll make mistakes of who to trust and where to go along the way, but all the while you grow fearlessly. Now join me as we shed those ideas, those beliefs that no longer serve us, so that we may step into our respective destinies, because confidence is not only our duty, it is our right. Madam Contast.
Will everyone please remain silent for the judges to complete their ballots and until the ballots have been collected by vote counters.
Welcome, Toastmaster. We have all the ballots.
Thank you. So once again, here I am. Here we are. We had 6 magnificent contestants and slightly less than magnificent applause. So let's try that I do have a question. By a show of hands, how many in the room are Toastmasters? So everyone else who's about to become a Toastmaster or will be a Toastmasters around. What is a contest without reviewing something, which is generally we read from left to right. So it's always easier if the Toastmaster's on the left, but we also learn to go with the flow. So if the Toastmaster happens to be staged to the opposite side, that's fine. So since you've all been looking this way, which is slightly awkward because we're used to starting at the beginning, I'm going to do the interviews from this side. How about that? Can I please have the contestants for the table topics contest come up in order of answer? So that would be Bernard Pearlstein, Karen Sandler, John Sarpalis, Catherine Hutchins, Mark LeBron, and Joanne Tulsa-Frere. If you can. I just like applause. Let's just do that. We'll begin at the beginning with you. How are you?
I'm great.
Okay.
Thank you.
How many years have you been a Toastmaster?
Around 16 years.
Around 16. Wow. And what club are you representing today?
Park Ridge, number 381.
Is Park Ridge in the house? Okay, Park Ridge isn't here, so we have to clap.
Yay.
Level of Toastmasters education.
Advanced communicators.
Advanced Communicator Silver.
CC. Yeah, but my competent communicator.
Your second competent communicator. Okay, so Bernard, 16 years. What's that do to you? That's your actual question. I'm like, where?
Well, it'll come. What I would like to say is, I'm in Toastmasters to continue to learn, to keep my skills, but also to help mentor newer members. And that is a big part of what keeps me in Toastmasters.
Thank you. I'll have 2 hands.
Okay.
So, John, how are you?
Great, Andy. By the way, round of applause for Andy. He gets my name right. That's what's so amazing.
I've been friends about his name. I haven't done something about it. How long have you been a Toastmasters?
I've been a Toastmaster a year and a half. I have my CC. I'm club treasurer. I'm North Suburban Toastmaster.
Interest public speaking. And time travel.
Time travel. Doctor Who.
Doctor.
Hey! A room full of fellow nerds. It's wonderful.
Well, they're not fellow nerds.
Well.
I'll let you ask the audience. What is that show you can ask the audience?
Oh, Millionaire.
Millionaire. So what do we millionaires stand for? You have to ask the audience. What does TARDIS stand for?
Oh, Lord.
Time and relative dimensions in space. Surprising, boy, I haven't had a chance to. How long have you been with Toastmasters?
Less than a year.
Less than a year. And what club are you representing today?
ORC Orators. Woo! I just finished my CL 2 weeks ago.
That means that she gets to go to see
Patricia
Patricia Fripp at the free breakfast at the conference.
Please remember to RSVP for that.
And see, you guys, you're right. You know it's going to be an old Toastmaster, right? Larger on after 30 or 30 plus. She's turning 30. Don't say that. After 30, your arms start to get shorter. Writing. What is your favorite type of book?
I am a genre writer. I write horror, short fiction, and I'm working on a couple different paranormal fantasy novels.
But helps for publishing, or do you just write for your own enjoyment?
I currently have several pieces on submission. I have a few plays in contest, and I'm working on getting an agent.
So let's look Mark. I'm going to say that last name. I know it just seems like it should be simple. It's only 2 syllables. Can you please correct me if I was wrong?
It's Le Brunt. Or Le Brunt, if you want to be fancy.
Fancy last name too. Viking. Oh, I'm sorry. I have to do the Toastmaster-ish questions. What club are you representing?
We'll power through the boring stuff. I've been a member of UOP Toastmasters 8623 for coming up on 2 years now, and I have completed my CC just at the end of last year, and I'm 1/3-ish through my CL.
Yay! You're a mechanical engineer.
Yeah.
Which kind of frightens me when I see tinkering as, and mind you, without glasses on, that was a little scary when I first read it, but okay. I see tinkering and mechanical engineers. So what type of tinkering do mechanical engineers, or you in particular?
It used to be Legos, which, you can't really harm society with that. And when I'm at work, we comply with all of the rules and regulations of AS&E and everything else you're supposed to do at work, like, all those. But when I'm at home, what I mean by tinkering is various, what's the word I'm looking for? Irreversible upgrades to my apartment. I call them upgrades, that's what the landlord says. And little hobbies, like I built a little glass rack to hold wine glasses out of wood. I don't know, just tinkering. Building the
Okay, but we're not really, as I always fantasize, speaking to the mothership from the chart.
No, you should not be worried.
How many years have you been a Toastmaster?
I joined in 1997, so you do the math.
And what club are you representing today?
Today I represent the Francophone Bilingual Toastmasters.
And what is your highest level of Toastmaster education?
Well, I got my DTM 2 years ago, and now I'm doing it over in French, the second time around. So I got my CC in French. Well, the CL, we have a bilingual club, so a lot of that was in French. And I'll be completing my advanced leader bronze this year.
Don't you love it when a plan comes together? Joanne and I were having a little conversation, we'll just say in another room in the building.
Yeah.
And she had mentioned to me something that I found fascinating, that she was actually an area governor in France. And is there any difference, or, we always think of Toastmasters, when we say Toastmasters International, but a lot of times we don't think about the international part. So can you give us a little example if there's any difference?
Completely different.
Well, might be a big example.
Okay, so I was area governor for 2 years for the clubs, English-speaking clubs in France, and then division governor for all the English clubs in France, Belgium, and Luxembourg. That was kind of a fun job. Obviously, I couldn't go, and they paid me when I went to conferences. That was cool. So one thing that it was really different because we were talking about this while we were waiting to do our table topics.
And you're always speaking to an international audience because it was European and you'd have people from all over. So you always had to take all the cultural aspects into what you were saying. So if you said, for example, we were talking before, who would you like to be? And I said me. Well, why would I like to be me? Because at least you know who that is. But otherwise, maybe if I were in France, I would have said the name of a French actress, Catherine Deneuve. How many people know her? Yay, 2, 3. So if you weren't the judges, I would lose. But anyway, it's really different, and what I do recommend is, however, the meetings are the same, whatever language they're in. And I recommend if you ever go to Europe, anywhere, go to a Toastmasters meeting. It's really, really fun. And if you go to Paris, there's 5 or 6 clubs. Go to Toastmasters of Paris and tell them I sent you.
And I know we have one contestant who will just be circling back around, but if we can have now the contestants who run the international contest, please come forward. Representing?
Relatively speaking, from Allstate Insurance. I've been a Toastmaster about 2.5 years, going on 3, and what's your next question? I've got my CC, my CL, my ALB, and I also took advantage of the ambassador program, where you go out and visit at other clubs. Do that. I highly recommend it. It's a good program.
Well, since you're highly recommending it, and it is one of my favorite programs, I'll let you give your pitch as your answer to the best reasons to be a part of the ambassador program.
Well, and I know I visited your club to get my ambassador. I tell you what, one of the best ways to do, and the reasons to do that is because you get to see different dynamics. You get to see other clubs and how they run their club. You bring back tips too, things that they're doing. They're like, I didn't realize we weren't doing that, or we should look at doing that. One of the basics that people forget about is you go to some clubs, they're videotaping. Yeah, a lot of them don't videotape. And you get tips on, okay, well, everybody bring their card, and one person brings their camera, have them put their card in and do that. So you can bring back a lot from other clubs, and I really do enjoy it, and it's a different dynamic, and it really is a new, fresh perspective on things.
What club are you representing this afternoon?
I'm representing Northside Toastmasters.
Woohoo!
I've been there a year.
Hold on a second. There's one more
Member of the club for about a year, and I've completed 6 speeches.
You get to see Patricia cooking the breakfast. Not that I'm really rerunning that commercial like a political animal. I have a very, can we do your education? We did all that. I have a very, very serious question because I see gardening as one of your hobbies or your interests. Do you have any advice for those of us that really would like to see some flowers but aren't very good at gardening, at how we can salvage spring? Even though it's a lovely day today, it hasn't been maybe such a good spring for planting.
I don't have any magic advice. I love to plant and grow things, and anything that I don't know is based on trial and error. So if you have anything that's outside that hasn't really started to sprout, you can start just cleaning that up when you have a sunny day, not too much watering if you get rain, and slowly it will.
Brother named Robert.
It's not me.
And see, Robert, I knew you were Bob. But you put Robert on the form just to throw the Toastmasters out. And that would be because you wanted me to figure out which one was the positive and which one was the negative of what I was looking at. What club are you representing?
This Plains, 1645. I'm celebrating my 14th month.
And what is your level of education?
I finished my 6th speech for my communicator.
Any other?
I'm also Sergeant at Arms at Mount Prospect 1500.
Yeah. Once you have a drill member, sometimes they just like have an interest in several clubs. So now you have all of the presidents and vice presidents of education out there. So I'd run for the door because they're all going to be counting you to join that third club. So you can never join that. I'm just letting you know. I'm going to talk to you later about my
I am looking for a club that likes me.
Oh, see, look. Everybody raise your hand if you're in a club that would like for Bob to join. There you go. We can get you all. Electronics.
Yes.
So are you going to get together with the electrical engineer and find this out? What do you enjoy about electronics, or what do you do with electronics in your spare time, or is it something we can know?
I have been in electronics, hardware, of course, not software, since I was 8 years old. I was blowing fuses at home. My father was an engineer, and I just kept on doing it.
Thank you very much. Oh, Bernard, what are we going to do with you? You're still a Toastmaster. All the way around the room, and now he's been a Toastmaster for 16 years and all the way around the room. So we'll just thank you. And then the question becomes, you've got 30 seconds to give your best pitch for Toastmasters.
The best pitch for Toastmasters is Toastmasters are all about self-improvement. I can tell you that I've actually re-engineered my career based on skills that I got during Toastmasters. I did my own venture in the mid-2000s, and I had to get back into IT without any particular skill, and I branded myself as a senior project manager, and I faked it. I faked
in my order, but I almost made it to the end all in order. What club are you representing today? 612?
I completed my CC, I think it was
CC in January. And how long have you been a Toastmaster? 1 year? 1 year. Well, I kind of gave it away when I said shopping, but I happen to know that you are also a dual member of more than one club. Are you in more than 2 clubs?
No, just the 2.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you to say, because I don't want to seem self-serving, what are the benefits of being in more than one club?
You get different feedback, and it's, well, I'm in SOS, which is an advanced club, so you get, so you get more varied feedback, especially when you start to go to the advanced level. So I think that's the best part that people may miss out on, having people that are familiar with you. That's fine, but you also want to have this dynamic of how they're evaluating.
Well, thank you. At this time, I would like to call Tiffany to the lectern. Please help me welcome Tiffany.
Hopefully you can see me. I even have like 3-inch heels on. Still barely see me, but anyway. I know, right? Couple of thank yous and a little bit of housekeeping before we move on to the awards this evening. It is this evening now. It is after 5, isn't it?
Yeah.
First and foremost, I want to thank Ann Johnson. I think she did a great job. Give out awards this evening. A little bit of my thank yous that I wanted to do. All of my functionaries, our judges, our ballot counters, our sergeant-at-arms, you name it, everyone that's here today, all the contestants, you all made this possible, and I'm very thankful that so many people could give up their Saturday afternoon to come spend it here. So thank you very much for that. And I also wanted to thank Westminster and Carroll for giving us this fabulous location. I love this venue, and I love that it's so much spacious room, and that they comp us on food, and they really support us. So I'd like to give them a round of applause. So one little thing first, and I hate having to say these, but we did have a disqualification and table topics for time. So just to let you know that. Alright. Moving on to table topics winners. We have lovely 3rd, 2nd, and 1st place today. In 3rd place, Miss Joanne Telser. In 2nd place, Catherine Hutchins. And in 1st place, and going to compete on which day? April 25th. Can we get a drum roll? Some international awards. That was for fun. It's April. In 2nd place, and who will compete if the 1st place winner cannot on April 26th, but I'm feeling they will. Ben Sanders. April 26th at the district to go to, for a chance to go to Malaysia and to represent the Northeast. So can we get a drum roll, please? Whoa.